stranger.
Austin, hey, Austin, welcome back to Smack Talk.
Hey, buddy, thanks for having me.
Now kiss me. Okay.
I'm pretending you're a mirror, and I'm pretending I'm Izzy.
Oh, man, I would love to be your mirror.
So we just watched Never Stop Blowing Up, episode 2.
Good episode.
We've talked about what we did episode 1, and now we have a little bit of maybe a format that we're experimenting with.
Yeah. I like
And hopefully that keeps it a little bit more organized.
Yeah. Episode 1, we get to talk all about concept, but now,
Yeah.
now we kind of start.
Now we're
gotta
more
get
of a
critical.
reaction. Yeah. And
we
like
got to do some
reaction channel.
criticism.
So what I'd like to do is predict your top 3 favorite moments. See if I'm right. See if I know you as a friend. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. And then you predict mine. And I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
Now, here's the thing. You've substantiated this on that you know me as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get yours wrong every single time, it's going to make me sound really bad. Like I'm a bad friend.
I'm
You're
just weird.
A chaotic person.
Yeah, I'm just weird.
I never know what you like or don't like.
Yeah.
I walk out of every situation going, I think Austin had this opinion about this thing, and I'm completely wrong.
Yeah.
Every single time.
To make it fair to you, and I'll let you know. I have a few honorary mentions. I'll let you know if you hit those.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
All
nice.
right.
That's cool. That's kind of you.
Yeah. Okay. I think your first favorite moment was the whole Doug Meat interaction. I think you really liked that Brennan became a fully fleshed NPC in that moment and wanted to get on the fill me up action. You want to say before or after? I feel like you should say all 3 first, and then you tell me. Okay. Number 2, I think that you really liked the Iffy crushing his person under the car, and that revealed that the first injury point is like a superficial scar on the action hero, and it isn't like real damage. It's just to make them look grizzled. I think you like that whole interaction, that reveal specifically. And then my third prediction is that you really liked the whole hive concept when Reika's character Usha is hacking for the first time as an action hero.
Okay. I think you paint me as somebody who really likes high concept stuff in that way. And it is so much stupider than that. It is basically when I just laughed the hardest.
Okay.
Because, I mean, high concept is like the bar at this point with Brennan's campaigns.
But those are the moments. Those are the moments.
I love the bits the most. That makes me so happy. It makes me feel like everybody at the table is having fun. I'm having fun. I did already cheat because I changed one of mine to an honorary mention, and then I replaced it with Doug Meat because Doug Meat is gold.
Yeah, Doug Meat's good.
And so I will be looking out for Doug Meat until he inevitably dies. And I will inevitably be upset about it, but I'll enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved Doug Meat up to, yes, one of my top 3. Honorary mention, the one that I moved out is Kingskin. Just trying to be funny today. He's just riffing.
Yeah, he's just riffing.
I know. Everybody has to laugh. It's just like, so funny about it not being like that unfunny, but also like, I don't know, just very.
I forgot about it, but I would have put as an honorary mention one of the Brennan NPCs just choking and dragging them into the shadows because they didn't laugh. That was pretty good. Yeah.
My other 2 were Izzy's not again for the divorce paperwork. So funny. She's so quick on her feet. It is ultimately like more impressive to me that you can make a joke that's so good and well worded like immediately when you need to.
Yeah, it's the speed of it that makes it so good. As soon as Brennan reveals the papers,
and then in responding in character, it's so good.
Yeah,
like
that's really good.
I will always wish I could be that quick.
Yeah.
And then my second is also Izzy. It's Izzy falling in love with the chief of police immediately. It's just there's so much. Are you coming with me? No.
That's cute. It's wholesome. That's wholesome.
She's also talking to her husband, and it's like I'm definitely imagining you as a hotter man. And it's like, oh, this is funny. This is good. This is good comedy. It's layered.
On the D20 Reddit, there's lots of posts of like how much in the first episode Izzy was flirting with Allie as a hotter man than Brennan.
Yeah. We'll get through everybody at the table at some point. For you, I had these. I think these are going to be so simple, but I think you liked I Heart My Slut Dad because any talk about t-shirts is going to turn your brain on. You're like, oh, yeah. And you go into design mode.
As a note for the audience, I'm trying to start a t-shirt business. So
we'll plug that later. And then, so I think that was one of them. It's also just funny. I think that's a funny shirt. I would laugh. When they said it was in baby size, hilarious.
I'll spoil something. The slut nephew and the slut uncle are funnier to me.
Yeah, that is funnier. They kept bidding on it. And that's good.
Yeah.
The whole bit to me is
the whole slut family. Yeah,
the whole slut family. Yeah, it's a good. I think you liked. I did hear you laugh at it when Jacob just kept hammering in, or Dang just kept hammering in how ugly G13 was. Just like, you look bad.
Yeah.
And then I think you like how long it took them to understand that they were saying the word "word," that it just didn't like at the table. It took a long time. Like word, and she goes, "word."
I actually didn't think that Brennan misunderstood. I thought he was just being like word up, like because it just happened to be. I thought he was making a pun. I didn't think anyone was confused. Maybe they were. I thought it was just like you're saying something from the 80s.
Still clever.
Yeah, still clever. What's the Luke Skywalker line? Like incredible. Everything you just said was. So one of your favorite moments, one of my favorite moments, Izzy's divorce again. That's just so good. I think that's the funniest moment in this episode. Super good. You got kind of one right. I wrote everything Jacob said this episode was super funny to me, but then I tried to condense it to my favorite joke, and it was when the submarine falls all the way down and he just says something sinks. I don't know. Yeah, that one. Because I know that his brain was gearing and was like what's something funny to say was stinks, and then it was just something sinks. That's good. And then the other one is you might even blink and miss it. Allie says something to Reika because Reika says they look down and see that their name is G13, and then Allie goes, G13 undercover is G13. I really like that one because it made me have the epiphany because I forgot about that. I even knew this fun fact. But in James Bond is the code name. James Bond's name isn't James Bond. That's his secret agent name. So it's James Bond undercover as James Bond.
No. Well, I don't think that's his real name, but his real code name is 007.
No, 007's the code name on top of the code name.
On top of the code name?
Yeah.
So it's an alias, and then it's a code name.
Yeah, he has an alias and a code name. Yeah. So James Bond undercover is James Bond. And I was like, oh, that's so good.
So how high up does it go?
Yeah. And then honorary mentions, I had like Slut Dad / the Slut Family. And then I did also have the Jacob saying G13 is really ugly. But I had the something sinks as something funnier.
Yeah, but Jacob, it's interesting to me how like unhinged he is on a lot of the shorter form content, but on this he's very reserved until like he comes in for the kill. And like that's so interesting to see him do that.
It's good.
Least favorites.
You want me to guess you first or me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I think your least favorite moments were Jacob wanting to retcon the deck of cards. Once he realized that Brendan was taking them away, he was like, "Can I redo that?" 2, I think you maybe were a little. The nicest word for annoyed that Izzy kept thinking the building was a train for a while. And it's just like, come on, Izzy, you're just so normally immersed. Why do you think you're on a train right now? And then 3rd was Reika stealing Izzy's bit of slamming the desktop shut, thus depriving Izzy of a rule of 3, but also not interacting with the hive anymore. Might not see the hive again since it seemed tied to the desktop.
That's funny. You did get the props right. I do think that like after prop number 4 or whatever that they lost and the lights going off and that weird little mystery about it, they started going like, okay, actually we need to keep these, and then they started like, you know, without other prior knowledge being like, oh, maybe I need mine, and like that is a little gamey at the table to do that. Which whatever, ultimately like there is like Brennan leaves ways for them to keep it or to lose it, and he'll probably take it from them if he needs to take it from them.
Yeah, there was I believe there was a skill check associated with each of them. So
So there is whatever for it, but it does give me vibes of like, oh no, I'm gonna do this because I think I'm cheating something. You know, even if it's not being cheated, actually, it's still like, oh, I'm going to do this to avoid something ahead of time. So that was one of them. My other 2 are wrong. They're both almost the same thing. The first one is Iffy talking to his reflection. I think that that's a big swing that you make at the table, and usually those are fine, and Brennan's very accommodating. He even tells everybody to like bite on that, and it's really sick or whatever. But I think it implies too much that other people have to do it because it like makes something true in the world. I would have much preferred if it was just true for Iffy's character. Whatever, maybe what's his name? Weldon.
Video store name
Sheldon.
Wendell, real name
Wendell.
Vic Ethanol.
Maybe like Wendell is like secretly
actor
loves
name.
those movies or whatever. Like he really wants to be like Vic Ethanol because of his family or whatever. So he does hallucinate him talking to him. Like all of that would have made more sense to me than like I'm gonna make this true for every other character, including one who has already made out with their reflection. And it's like, oh, now we have some interesting implications there.
Yeah, it does give. I like that Izzy held off on that though. She was like,
yes,
we'll see.
That honestly, like if I was going for not just the funniest, but like the best played moments, it would be Izzy holding back on it and being like, I'm not going to have that happen, even though it's an easy thing. That's why this is a great, oh man, that transition, if I had kept with it and actually done it, would have been so good. That's why my second worst moment is Usha's reflection with G13 and looking like G13 be like, I knew you had it in and you kid or whatever. I don't give a fuck about G13. Like unless there's like written interesting stuff with these characters, which maybe there is or whatever, but like it's more interesting that they're in their bodies. It's like, what is this? Like, no, they're just biting on something that was maybe good for him, but then he's just kind of playing two characters and gets to, use whatever motivation he wants for whatever scene for that.
Yeah, I don't have Usha's thing as my least favorite, but it was underplayed, right? She says that G13 does that, and then like no reaction.
Yeah.
Or I think they make the joke that they're like, I haven't been called a kid in 73 years, but that's it, right? It's just comedy, not.
I don't know how much we'll even bite on that later.
Yeah. And number 3?
Number 3 was the props. So it was the Usha reflection.
Oh, and then 2 reflections. Got it. Okay. Cool. Okay, you guess mine.
Okay. I think yours was Alex talking so much, or Kingskin talking so much about his dogs. And like saying that they have a mini pin back at home. I actually you don't think that that's that funny, and it went on a bit long. I think you would scoff at us not seeing them go out on the town, Russell and Dang, and that we just cut to them going to the hotel. And then I also think that you think that the Izzy making out with her reflection went on too long too. It was very like
interesting,
played up and cut a lot.
So Alex doing the dog bit, had I remembered it, I actually forgot, would have been an honorary mention. I did like it. I thought it was good. I like when jokes go on for a long time.
Like it.
I like when comedy is funny and it goes on too long, it's not funny anymore, but you keep going and it becomes funny again. Because it becomes funny of how long you're doing it.
Hard to know where that comes back.
That's one of my favorite ways to do comedy. Can you repeat not seeing on the town? I almost want to change one of my answers. I agree. I wish we had seen Russell and Dang out on the town.
Like they wanted to go out, and it was
that's
like,
a good answer. I wouldn't have. I didn't think of that. I would like that to be one of my 3.
Yeah, they just show up at the hotel. Okay, all right. So you changed one of your least favorites. I changed one of my favorites. There you go. That's
and then Izzy making out with the mirror. I thought it was funny. It was just neutral. I don't love it or dislike it. My actual least favorite that I wrote down. I agree with you. Iffy's mirror. I think that's mean improv. You kind of said this toward the end. I think it gives Iffy the ability to make whatever decision they want now. Now they're not just Wendell; they can also be Vic Ethanol whenever it's convenient. And like, I think Wendell would have gone into the shadows
in that too. Like honestly, if he handed it off to Brennan, I would have said less about it.
Yeah, but I feel like Wendell wanted to go into the shadows. That's what should have happened. But but it's fine. Like I don't hate it. It's just I don't like what it implies, and it makes Iffy's like the decisions become more questionable because basically you can do anything now to where I feel like everyone else is in a true predicament of having to think about what their specific video version self would do until they fully become closer to that action role. 2, I thought you might say this. I almost gave it to you as your least favorite moment, but I was like, no, I'll be the true Dimension 20 stan here. And I gave you the opportunity to say it first and you didn't. Reika doesn't honor the cock. There's a roll, it's cocked, and then they immediately take it back. You can tell Allie's going to say something.
That's what honoring the cock is. You haven't seen that episode yet. Honoring the cock is that...
I know what it is now.
Oh, you're saying they don't say honor the cock?
There was a cocked roll. They A, don't honor it, and B,
what do you mean honor it? You don't know what honoring it means. That's what I'm saying. You haven't seen the episode. Honoring the cock is that he rolled almost a nat 20, like it's cocked on a nat 20, and he goes, "You gotta honor the cock," and so he re-rolls it and doesn't get a nat 20.
Oh, so they do honor the cock.
Yeah, they honored the cock. Yeah, so
well,
that. And that is debatable whether or not they filmed that first or this first. I don't know. Yet.
Maybe. Well, I do have no, because I was saying it looked like Allie was going to say something, but then they didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can probably tell by their hair if I was paying attention enough.
I had the ... that Allie was deprived of saying it. So
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then 3, Jacob not even entertaining incest as a joke, not even a little bit. Immediate shutdown.
Actually, yeah, you know what? I kind of hear you. It is like, I don't know, we have an opportunity here to be like stupid, gross, edgy, but it was like, nah, shut down.
And now that I'm thinking about it, I should have put another honorary mention of Reika being like, and this week of Adventure Academy, is it incest against your uncle if you're 2 different people? That's a good line.
That is funny.
All right. Now let's talk about some D&D mechanics. I'll go first, and then I'll bump it back up to you. I said this as we were watching. It didn't seem like you noticed any of the times that it was happening, but some of the rolls, specifically like the blow-ups, were a little bit messed up this episode. The one I'm remembering the most like apparent to me is Alex gave 2 turbo tokens to upgrade their D6, but they rolled a 2. So the 2 turbo tokens should have just made it a 4. I think Brendan got confused.
I didn't go back and check that for you, but
I know because then Alex rolls a D8 afterwards, because I think Brendan, for me, was confused too that they were upgrading a D4, but then immediately Allie and Alex agreed that they should roll a D8 next, so they blew up a D6 even though it was a D4. So yeah, I know that happens at least one other time. I don't know if it was a blow up, but just some of the next dice you should roll was being messed up on some of the occasions. So just something I noticed, just a little nitpick. It's not a least favorite thing. It's ultimately whatever, but just a D&D mechanic I was noticing. You got one?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I do think it's interesting how difficult it seems to be for people to know whether or not they should take a turbo token when it's like any failure. Like,
who just starts killing it? Was it Allie? Allie's like, I'm going to start doing
Allie
it.
rolls as many times as possible and does try to get as many tokens.
Yeah, but
I think that's smart.
Who went before Allie? Alex, and was there one other person?
Yeah, it was Izzy.
Oh yeah, so Alex and Izzy both weren't using turbo tokens pretty much at all at the beginning. Then Allie doesn't, and then other people had the epiphany, like, oh yeah, this is what I should be doing. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. They just they're still getting used to the system a lot, and then
now I'll do a D&D mechanic.
Oh, okay.
We'll ping pong. We'll tennis match it. No, I was just giving you a chance to talk.
Well, whatever. We're talking.
I know that you said this is based off Kids with Bikes. Is that the correct name?
Kids on Bikes.
Kids on Bikes. There was one moment, I believe it's with Jacob, where Jacob already has like a D8 with Tough, but Brendan makes him roll Brawl. And it seems like to me, Brawl and Tough should be the same. I don't know if I like that Brawl and Tough are different. It seems like
Tough is when something's happening to you, and Brawl is when you're doing something.
I can get that, but I don't know. It feels like it's meant to be a little bit condensed, because like Charisma is just hot now, and like I feel like hot's probably also applicable to like if you need to seduce someone, which I guess is also Charisma and basic D&D. But yeah,
like a Tough goes against a Brawl if you're fighting somebody.
That is how Brendan seems to be using it, but I don't know. I just felt like since Jacob already had a D8 on Tough, it could have been used instead of Brawl.
One of mine is that I thought the props with the lights are very interesting. That is immediately something that catches your eye. And you're like, it's well designed, and I love that they're using more of the table. They did this in Mentopolis too, where they just like use a lot of the table space for these ones that don't really have like sets, which I don't think there will be. And it's just like something that catches your eye. Like there's a big mystery, you know. It really, really makes you want to play too.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but you said things that trigger 2 of my predictions. One, I do think there'll be a big set piece, and we'll know for sure next episode because we finally have our big first action in an elevator sequence. So we'll see who's right next episode. 2, my prediction just with the lights, I think what they serve as is to tell you if you're on mission or off mission. I don't necessarily think you have to have them, but it's like if you are missing them, then it's going to be much more difficult to do the thing as your action hero, I guess. And it's just like a good signifier, not necessarily because I think other people could think you need all the green lights on in order to escape. I'll talk about that prediction later, but I don't think you need to do that in terms of what we're talking about with the props. Next D&D mechanic that I was thinking about, I disagree with the execution of Izzy doing a Brooklyn accent, and that messes up how Manhattan is talking in the world. I think if anything, it should just be a thicker Brooklyn accent. Like if you're actually trying to talk like your action hero, then you just talk. It should be a multiplier positively, not like not a subtraction. I felt like it was weird that it was a subtraction.
I could see them that being like them being able to do their character's voice in front of their friends who are also in it, because they hear each other's voices, like they hear the real voices, and that being like if you do the voice, you can literally do the voice, you know. But yeah, I don't know. That was weird. I thought that was fine. It is Izzy funny because Izzy's really good at
Izzy
pulling
funny,
off.
But I don't know. Allie was like, "Hang on, let's talk about this for a second." And I was like, "Yeah, I want to talk about this too. What are the ramifications?"
Yeah, because nobody thought about that ahead of time.
And I just feel like it should be a multiplier, not a subtraction.
One of mine is that I feel like at worst, Brennan's a little lax with the DCs on things because he puts them. It kind of feels like he puts them within range of a blow up every time. You know, like, if you blow up, like you could get this. It's hard, and so it's only like 2 or 3 above what your die is. But I feel like it should be stagnant. Like it should be stable. Like whatever you're trying to do, it might be a 12 if you're trying to do something crazy. It's like, well, you're gonna have to blow up a few times before you can do that kind of thing, you know. But I think
there was a fair amount of D10s I agree with you on some
people
of it.
with 6s though. I feel like, you know.
I don't know. I feel like there was some.
I feel like there's only a couple, and it's stuff and they do hit it a lot. You know, when it's that high, like rarely do they never not, because it's easy to blow up on a D4. And then
there was one, wasn't there, where if he literally couldn't have done it without the triple blow up?
I think so, but it's hard to keep track, and especially when we're throwing in, maybe the dice were not totally correct sometimes. But the turbo tokens should help a lot with that, you know, too. Like that in my mind should be the decider.
Fair enough. We briefly mentioned it earlier. I was just going to say the injury system is super cool. I really like that the first one is a superficial scar. I feel like that is very action movie-y. So that typically happens in the first act where they do something super cool and they just get like a battle scar out of it. Very cool attention to detail.
One of mine is that I want to see that full list of feats, like the smoking stuff. I want to know what I have to pick from if I want to play in this rule set. I want them to publish it. And they work very hard on these things. And
do you think they'll ever make? Because I believe Critical Role has a D&D book. You think Dimension 20 will ever make a D&D book?
I really hope so.
Sure,
I know that
they do, right?
Like, they're just like on the road to getting to the level that Critical Role was ever at, but like Critical Role is huge.
Yeah,
like, we need to get to Amazon Prime show territory. So, you know, we'll get there. I mean, eventually there'll be those in Barnes & Noble, I'm sure, if we keep on going with this. But yeah, make sure to go watch Dropout. Everything on Dropout. Do it. It's $5. $5 a month.
They also support you sharing it with friends, so you can easily split it. Friends. Give 5 friends at $1 a month.
Sometimes they do a deal where a year is like 30% off. It's like $40 for the whole year or something, which is insane.
I'm out of D&D mechanics.
That was my last one too.
Nice, good timing. Okay, predictions. So I stand by that the way to get out of the Never Stop Blowing Up is to watch. I don't know if comedy is the right genre, but I'm just going to keep saying comedy. A comedy movie. Towards the end, once they've satisfied the things that they want to do as the action heroes, they'll come across that guy who teleported them. He'll put in a comedy movie in the VHS tape that'll be very reminiscent of their lives at the store, and then they'll go teleporting back into that world. It might even be, if anyone's watched like Outlander, this will be like their teleportation system of going back between the 2 dimensions. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't think it's just going to be a pure, once you've done this, then you get to escape. I think it'll be almost like a teleportation system.
Okay. I do think that one of mine goes sort of hand in hand with that, because I do think that their world, like their real life world, is meshing a little bit with the Never Stop Blowing Up world, because it's like Usha calling her granddaughter's number and it being the FBI guy's number is kind of insane. It has a lot of implication. I don't think that Brendan would just say that without it ever going anywhere. I could see why it could just be like, oh, you know, whatever, we're trying to get the scene to get going. But I do think that like kind of means you can will things to happen in ways, you know.
That goes right into one of mine. I think that all the numbers Usha knows are going to be numbers in the Never Stop Blowing Up universe. I think that's a very funny, convenient ex machina. I feel like Usha's character is going to want to keep calling family to be like, please help me through this, or like, can you help me in this? And it'll just keep being the thing that they need as a really funny, convenient ex machina.
I'm writing down a prediction right now that's too funny and they didn't think of that. That's too funny. That would be really good.
Yeah.
I just don't think she's too phone number based, but like in that moment, if I had walked away from the table at the end of that episode as Reika's character, I'd go like, oh yeah, that's a good game to play, you know?
Yeah.
So you are right.
And then I already talked about what the props mean, so that's my main predictions. What else you got?
I got St. Jude is a bad guy. They just always do that, you know.
Yeah.
The guy who's in charge of the spies is the bad guy.
Jetpacking away felt kind of evilly to me. That's when I first had it, but I didn't keep with that thought that he was evil. But I was like, that was kind of evil.
And then I've got Paula falling in love with Jack through the mirrors. I think that's an easy thing to do.
I think that's hopeful wishing, not a prediction.
I think that could happen. I think it was an easy thing. She obviously thinks she's super attractive, and she has it right there.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just think it has potential. I think that's all I have for predictions.
Fair enough. Good predictions. All right, and then finally, let's rank our role players today. We'll do it pyramid style.
Yeah.
So, who's your top of the pyramid?
No, you start at the bottom.
Okay. Who's at risk of going home and is at the bottom of the pyramid today?
No, you start at the top.
Okay. Who is your top of the pyramid?
All right, my top of the pyramid this time is Izzy. I think Izzy was consistently so funny, so high energy, so ready for anything, and just like so quick-witted. I don't know. Everything she says in this episode to me is gold. She's just got such a good energy.
Similar reasoning. Izzy is also at the top of my pyramid. I think they were the funniest. I think they, at times, were the most creative. And as a foreshadowing at who might be at the bottom, I really like that they didn't interact with what Iffy set up with the mirror. I like the restraint.
Nice. On my second tier is Jacob and Alex. I think Jacob is like almost passive in this a little bit sometimes, but he's very like receptive and then goes forward with it. There's some moments where he is kind of like, it's new. He's at the dome for the first time and it's a little strange, like him knowing what his options are. And I can see Brendan like pushing him to do certain things. But I think he's like happy about it. And for the most part, he's welcome. You know, like he's very, very welcome to whatever anybody wants to give him. And then Alex is just like delivering this so cleverly every time. And I love the gentle giant energy. And I love just the image of Kingskin. I want more. I want to look up fan art of it. It's just so funny. I don't know.
I have good news for you. Kingskin is based off something, and you can watch a lot of that.
Oh, yeah. It's like a very specific image in my mind now. I don't think there's images of Vincent D'Onofrio going, oh, I'm kind of cool, like kind of chill, you know? I'm not big and scary.
On my second row, I have Jacob and Reika. Again, you kind of just said exactly what I think about Jacob. I think he's killing it comedy-wise. I think he's a really great addition. Hope he does more Dimension 20 campaigns in the future. I really like his role. I really like his dynamic with Brendan the most. I feel like Brendan's also having a lot of fun with Jacob being there. And then Reika, I think Reika is... my top three are just the funniest to me. Kind of ranked in that order of quality of jokes. I just think Reika's also killing it comedy-wise. And I just like what they're doing. I like the character. I feel like it's the most different. I feel like you could argue that a lot of the other five kind of have similar things going on.
No.
But Reika's feels the most unique. And until that stops feeling unique, I think they'll always kind of be top three for me.
Yeah. Definitely my bottom five are always just going to be very fluid because nobody's bad. Nobody should have bad. They're all better improvisers than me. They're all funnier than me. They're all hotter than me. And it's like not inflammatory. It is who I think didn't swing that hard this episode. But at the bottom for me, or in the third tier for me, is Iffy for the reflection thing. I thought that was a strange choice.
Yep.
And just like implied too much for everybody else. Allie, because I just don't think they made any big swings this episode. I think they were pretty much in the background doing their thing, and it was nice. They play great characters, but like there just wasn't anything that like made me super laugh out loud or whatever.
Copy and paste. Except I really like Allie's contributions as Allie at the table.
Yes.
I'm just as a role player, bottom three.
Yeah, they just didn't take a front row seat.
Commentator, they would be second row. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't take the driver's seat this time. That's all.
Yeah.
And then, even though they literally took the driver's seat on the motorcycle. Anyway, and then
I did like
Reika.
Jacob holding That was the incest. That's the incest that I got.
The incest you deserve.
And then they went on a date to the pier.
We didn't see that.
Slutty t-shirts. Yeah.
And then Reika is in the third tier for me because I think she went back a little bit on what her character was, just to make it not the sixth person in a row who was like, I don't know what's happening, I'm so scared. And she was like, oh, I'm actually gonna like be somebody who's taking this seriously.
I think that's good. I really like Reika's justification of like trying to unscramble something through Scrabble as like a kind of an old grandma board game is really good to me. I think that's really good.
Yeah,
I commend it. I think they should all be promised because I don't know if you said this or if I said this or maybe I just thought it. If he creates the ethanol talking to him, but he could have just thought about his brother. What would my brother do in this situation is a much better way that's already been established to like make the choices that you're trying to make by having ethanol at your disposal, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I feel like maybe the person who's doing it best is Reika with like, what would my character actually think and do if they had to solve something in this situation?
Yeah, but it is a little, I use this word all the time and I don't know another word for it. Arbitrary, because it's like
I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna cut you off early. This is how much I disagree with you.
You always cut me off early, dude.
You know what Izzy's character should like almost immediately have done, considering their job and like the stakes that they've been given? Go look at the security footage. Why haven't you done that yet? And it's just like, I don't know. So Reika's the only one who's honoring their character, I think, so far. In terms of you saying you think they backtracked on it, I feel like Reika's the only one pushing forward.
It's just the tone for me. It's like, and it's the action to which they're trying to complete. In my mind, Usha was a character from episode 1 who was like, I'm not entertaining any of this. I don't know what to do. I'm very passive. I'm like, I'm just gonna unplug everything. Like that's what's happening here. Like I have one solution, and then like suddenly in episode 2, she's a person who has other solutions so that this can move forward. And like that is tonally inconsistent to me. It is funny, and she is a great role player, but like also the doing the Scrabble thing, ultimately like that had nothing to do with the answer that Brennan gave her, which was like, oh yeah, it's not even a word, it's a random assortment of keys, you got it right on accident the first time. And it's like,
well, I mean, okay, first of all, it's impressive that Brennan, what the actual password ends up being, did contain a lot of the letters that Reika did say in the moment, which I thought was impressive. I was like, hey, good paying attention and like yeah. Well, he included numbers that Reika didn't say, but like whatever. But what do you want to do, Brennan, to literally unscramble it in that moment? It's impressive enough you remember some of the letters. You want to actually create a word?
I don't want that. I'm saying it's Reika's issue. I'm saying she lobbed something at Brennan that was completely strange, and then Brennan
played it
yes
perfectly. I don't know.
Played it perfectly is irrelevant to me when you have to say yes to that. Somebody's doing enough improv.
You could roll
you
it.
Have to go. Yeah, but I think she already rolled, right?
We argue no, because it was rule of cool. Brendan was like literally that was so cool of what you thought of that I'm gonna honor that and like you. Well,
it's hard for me to watch it and know what's important. I'm assuming most everything is important. So if he's dictating that it's not important enough to care whether or not it is like actually done now or later, then that's fine. But like watching it, I'm like, oh, this must be something important. Like this hive thing seems really important. And it's like, oh yeah, you guessed the password on the first try. Just doing like the Scrabble thing functionally has nothing to do with that. She looks at the greasiest keys and then goes, I'm trying to unscramble it. And I was like, okay, it's not scrambled. It's the first thing you said. You know, like whatever keys you're reading, that's what it is apparently. It's like, that's, you know, you just won. You just win.
I don't know. I disagree. I feel like Brennan does what I love, which is rule of cool. I forgot what he does with Iffy, but Iffy also does a rule of cool thing. And then 2, I forgot my second point. Dang, I forgot my second point. I'm glad that Brennan does.
I'm right.
I'm glad Brennan does rule of cool. And then, man, I don't remember.
I'm glad he does rule of cool too. Most of the time it's necessary, and that is good. In this case, it was having to do rule of cool because somebody else couldn't think of another action than doing something completely improbable, you know? Like you have to.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. Second thing, I feel like there is, or at least hinting towards, this happens with Jacob in the first episode too, where your action persona does just kind of bleed through.
Yeah, but I feel like there's no reason not to say that.
The hacker's going to get it first try. I think it's implied, or I think it's like a secret that they're unraveling.
If there was gonna be that reflection thing and everything, then it's like, you know, he also like in the reflection, he's like, you had it in you, kid. And it's like, what does that mean? That means he's taking a back seat. He wasn't giving that information. You know, that's like.
Well, okay, but this is live improv, so don't criticize too much. Yeah. But like,
well, I'm not like ultimately, it is live improv. Any of this is impressive. Here's where I thought the points were that needed work. You know.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, there's only one person who did not get a roast tonight, and that was Brendan. Brendan's even below the pyramid.
Brendan will be.
Brendan, it just didn't feel like. Yeah, just didn't feel like he was a player. It felt like he was a DM, kind of.
Yeah.
Really dictating how things should go.
Just talked a lot.
And
fingerless gloves are very out of date.
What is he pretending to be in the 80s?
What is he doing? I didn't get the choice. Props. Let him have some props, Brennan.
No. Kept insisting there was like some sort of action. It's just like, let the characters breathe.
Yeah, he doesn't even know the word.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know that word? That's crazy.
Didn't know it. Couldn't unscramble the other word either.
Come on, Brennan. It was Pavanson.
So, I don't know. I still love
Brennan,
him, but
we will be sending you home today.
You have been chopped.
You can come back next week, but you might get sent home again.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching/listening to our review of Never Stop Blowing Up, episode 2. Again, we're kind of trying to fill a void that we feel like is there, that people aren't talking about D20 enough or Dropout as a whole.
D20 and Dropout. We need everybody to know about it. I don't care who it is. Tell your mother. Tell your grandmother. Tell her grandmother.
So if you find this and like this, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. We also have some other content we're exploring on the channel that you might want to give a look-see for.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you so much and have a great day.
And buy shirts at Fluently Mute.